Lindsey Myers from Myers Art, and I'm here as a special guest on El Paso Create podcast. I'm going to be talking about my specialty in fluid acrylic paint art and also my experience in resin art. So I really got into this. I'm a student at NMSU, and I got into this last semester, and I was on campus, and I really was just curious about this type of art. I did about it, and I just dove straight into it, and I fell in love. So I've been creating ever since, and I don't intend on stopping anytime soon.
Awesome. So, Lindsey, tell us a little bit about why you chose the path of art, why you wanted to get into art, what motivated you.
I've always been real creative since I was young. I used to draw, I used to paint, I used to have a sketchbook. I even used to like write poetry. I used to be real creative. I think the older I got, I didn't make time for it as much because I
Mhm.
was busy with school, extracurricular activities. You get older and you just get busy. And sometimes you lose sight of what it is you actually enjoy doing with your free time, because you don't have as much free time as when you were younger. But once I discovered this and I actually started getting into it, I realized that it really a lot of joy, and it really brought me back to my creative side, which is something that I thought was really important because I don't think anyone should ever lose, the creative, silly, curious, fun side of themselves.
Right.
And I just really fell in love with how it made me feel. It was a real big stress reliever for me for school. I'm a mechanical engineering major, so it can be stressful. But this type of art really brought me some type of like release, and I just enjoy it. And there are so many possibilities that I just don't see myself stopping anytime soon.
There really is. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. I was going to ask you, what type of art do you like to do? What's your creative process like? What style do you like to do?
So my style of art is painting. It's going to be fluid acrylic art. So basically, I take acrylic paint and I mix it with a paint thinner, and then I pour different colors of paint into a cup. Usually that's how it starts.
Yeah.
And then get them onto the canvas using different techniques. There are plenty of techniques. There's like a flip cup, which is where you directly flip the cup onto the canvas and pick it up and just see what happens. You spread it around. There's ones where you drag it. You can use a string. I've used crazy tools, like I've used a funnel, a colander, strings. You can even use like put a hole in a cup and let it spin around. You can do so many different things. And even if you try and do the same thing twice, you will never have the same outcome twice. So it's
Right.
super fun. You never know what you're going to get. And I just love how many different things you can create.
What's the craziest thing you created? Like the craziest, most awesome, most loved art piece, I guess, you created.
Um, I got some good feedback from the one that I used for the funnel. So I actually layered basically in a rainbow. So I used all the colors of the rainbow and then layered them in there color by color. And then I dragged the funnel across the canvas, and then spread it around. And
Nice.
then what you do is you take a torch, some type of heat source, you apply
Mhm.
it to the canvas, and it pops the air in the paint. And so some different colors of paint will come up from the bottom, and it creates a really cool effect. So that one was really popular. And it's honestly just so pleasing to watch those paint bubbles come up. So when I get
Right.
videos of them, people really enjoy watching them.
Right. It's like a little stress reliever. And I've always told people, I'm like, art is something to get your mind away from things. I don't know if you've seen those quotes that we've been putting on our Twitter about, art is just a nice stress reliever. You could do anything with art. Same way as photography in a way too, where you could just like you capture a photo and it can be as unique as you can. Um,
For sure.
what that funnel thing that you said, it seems kind of challenging. Was there any other challenging artwork or paintings that you've ever done?
Oh yeah, of course. Jumping into this, I used to watch YouTube videos. Like probably anyone starts out with a hobby, they want to watch someone else do it. But after I started jumping into it, I just started experimenting, and I was so curious that I just jumped into it on my own. And doing that does come with a lot of challenges and a lot of I had to learn this the hard way. Especially I started experimenting with resin art, and if anyone's been experienced with resin, it is messy and it is sticky and it is It's what's called a thermal conductor, so it literally will heat up on its own. So I've had my resin burn through cups, it's burned my own
Wow.
hand, it's burned my table. It is just a mess unless you know what you're doing. So it's definitely been a learning process, but I honestly would do it all over again in a heartbeat.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean that seems tough. I wouldn't be able to do that unless I knew exactly what I was doing. Um, with the whole COVID situation on, I guess, going on, how do you seek opportunity out here now, or how do you try to find different avenues to go about getting your art expressed and getting it out there?
So I really depend on my Instagram. That's where I post everything. That's where people reach out to me with questions or with commissions. What I wanted to bring up is I really didn't start this hobby as a means to create a business. I didn't start this as a means to make money at all. It was really just for my own benefit, for my own enjoyment, and the fact that people reach out to me like this is something that I want to buy, something that I want to have, and I made it is rewarding, and it's been a feeling that I've really never experienced before. But
Mhm.
it's really special, and it just good for people to like just appreciate whatever it is you made, because I mean there everything that I make, there's nothing else that's the same. There's nothing like whatever the object is in the world. That's the only one. So I think it's really so I can try and create it as close as I can, but it's never going to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes them really special, and I think that's why people appreciate them.
Yeah. And speaking about uniqueness, I don't know if you heard about this old artist. His name was Edgar Degas, I think. He was a French painter, and his unique way was of painting was he was used to go to ballerina recitals, and he used to paint the ballerina recitals. And he's somebody that I always saw as like an inspiration in the art industry of just like how can somebody go to like these events and then put him in painting. Um, so with
That's
that, I
awesome.
guess is who do you look up to? Who's your role models? What inspires you?
Um, Gosh, I feel like there are so many great artists out there that maybe I follow on Instagram or I've seen their work, but I just don't pay enough attention because I'm just kind of scrolling past. But there are so many great artists that I follow on Instagram that I'm just like, how did they come up with that? Like, how did they even manage that? Or how does theirs come out so good and mine isn't that good? So I know that it comes with practice, and I know that no artwork is ever going to be the same. So you have to keep reminding yourself, whatever it is you created, you should be proud of it. And whatever someone else created, they're proud of it, So there's just so much art out there to appreciate, and I'm just glad that there are people out there appreciating mine, no matter how small.
Right, right. No, what matters is that you always make it. It doesn't matter what people think, but it matters what you think in the end, the final, edit, I guess, in a photo or your final painting. Um, how do you know when a painting is done, like to you?
I think there has been several paintings where I've liked the way it looks when it's wet, and then I come back the next day and it's dry, and it's just completely different from the way I left it. Either like the colors didn't set or just the way something cured. Some of my resin projects, they cure with air bubbles in them, and sometimes there's little imperfections, but that again is part of the learning process. And sometimes the great thing about paint is you just paint right on top of it. You don't like how it comes out, you just paint something else right on top of it. And then you just create those endless possibilities. Like I said, you're never gonna create the same thing twice. And if there's something you don't like, just slap some more paint on top of it, and just go from there. Just keep going up.
Yeah, exactly. Um, what are we mentioned? You mentioned like practice makes perfect. What other things did you do to perfect your craft or try to get better at what you're doing?
You know what? Just trying to learn from my mistakes. I used to really get caught up about, oh, what if I waste paint, or what if I waste this product, or then I'm wasting money, or I'm wasting my time. But it really isn't if you look back at it, because it's all a learning experience, and you're gonna become a better person, artist, creator because of it.
Hmm.
So even if you think you did something the wrong way, in the end, it's actually gonna help you. So it's just for me, it's just learning from my mistakes
Mm.
and just continuing to be to try to um, just explore what the possibilities are and not worry about how it's going to come out. Just give it your best shot. Just give it your all.
Exactly. And when you first started, how did you get creative with the things you had at hand? What resource did you have that you didn't have now when you first got started?
Oh my gosh, when I first got started, I was in a small dorm room and my art table was a small little side desk, uh, a little side table next to the bed. And I started with, supplies from the dollar store, some little cups and some paint from Walmart. And you really don't need much to get started. You don't need, high-end materials to be creative. There's still materials that I buy to this day that I bought when I first started out. So sometimes it's not always about what materials that you have readily available. If it's not in your budget or if it's not something you're serious about, but that doesn't mean that you can't create something amazing. So from where I started to now, I would say I had the same intent. I might have some better materials now. I
Mhm.
had to buy molds for different resin projects, things like that to experiment. But when I started out, I think I have the same motivation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get you. And so where do your ideas come from? What sparks your inspiration or your creativity to make an art piece?
I think it used to stem a lot from videos that I had previously seen either on Instagram or YouTube. I used to spend hours on YouTube just watching different fluid acrylic artists. But now I think I go in there and I'm just kind of like, what color scheme do I like? What colors haven't I used in a long time? What is something fun that I could do or use. And so now I think I kind of just go based on whatever it is I'm feeling or whatever it is I thought of the day before and have been wanting to try. I don't think I rely on someone else's like videos or um, someone else showing me how to do it. I think I kind of just go into there on
Mm.
my own and I think I
You
have more faith in my own creativity.
you create your own uniqueness in a way in your artwork. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I have more faith in great.
Yeah. What type of I know you mentioned a bunch like acrylic and I think you said resin art. Which one is your favorite most of them to do?
Sure. So I started out primarily on the acrylic painting. I kind of dove headfirst into that. And then I ordered resin originally to cover my paintings so that they would have like a glossy finish, protectiveness. But then I started getting into the different types of uses for the resin. You can buy molds and create, all this different stuff. You can create trays. I have little trays here I
Mm.
ordered a mold for. I have a little ring holder. I actually started making some hair clips. So there's so many different things you can use for resin. You just buy the molds and then the possibilities are endless from there. I started making pop sockets, which combined the painting and the resin. So I kind of paint the pop socket and then pour resin on top of it to give that protective finish. So it's nice and glossy and smooth. And so I've mixed some of the acrylic and resin art for some pieces, and then some are separate. So I think they both have an equal role um, in my creative process or in my art.
Yeah. And looking at those pieces are really awesome. So how long does it
Thank
take you to
you.
complete those pieces or,
Sometimes it depends. I mean, this type of art is faster than most because it's not something detailed. I don't need a paintbrush. I don't sit there for hours. But it does take a lot of thought process to figure out which colors go well together, how much, paint thinner you need for different paints. They have different viscosities. You get worried about the paints mixing together and then all your paintings become brown. You're worried about the resin, how it cures, whatever you mix in the resin, what colors go together in the resin, if they'll show, just so many different variables that you have to think about that how I mentioned, I kind of had to learn the hard way sometimes.
yeah.
Um, But for the resin, I usually leave all my resin projects and also my canvas paintings. I leave them overnight. So until they're dry and cured, I leave them for sure like a good 24 hours.
Yeah. And as you're making these art pieces, do new ideas just progress that you just like add on more to it and you're like, oh crap, I need to do this now? Or
Oh my
just
gosh, all the time. I swear I'll order like a new mold and then I'll see something like, oh, I should have gotten that too. Or I'll start mixing. I started getting powders that you can mix into the resin so that you basically have colored resin. And so I had already poured one of these this morning. I actually resining this morning. And so I poured one of these. And then right after I started some powder and I was like, oh my gosh, I should have used this. But I had already poured it. So that happens all the time. And, I think that's what keeps you going because it excites you for the next time.
it gives you more projects to do and more like expand your
Yes,
creativity. Yeah.
exactly. It's like a new idea. All right, let's go. Like I have something already, set and for me to follow the next time I get in this room. So it's exciting for me.
Yeah, I bet. And so, what habits do you do, or what different type of things have you used that helps you expand more in creating your artwork?
Um, I'm not sure if I have habits. I try to get into my art room as often as I can, but with school and work and just being a student and having a family and having a social life, whatever, sometimes it's hard to find time to like, okay, sit down, let me go in here. And you never want it to feel like a job, you know what I mean? You never
Hmm.
want it to feel like I'm going in there because I have to. So I really make sure that I'm going in there with the right intent because I want to. So I don't want to get in the habit of thinking like, oh, I have to go this or I have to go make this for this person. I want it to be because I want to,
Yeah.
and I think that's something really important to keep in mind if you're becoming like a creator and you're wanting to expand into a business or something like that. Don't let the business take over your actual interest or
Hmm.
why you started this hobby or this um, little side hustle to begin with. So I
Yeah, and I
think
always
that's
tell
really
people, I'm like,
important.
just do what you're passionate about, do what you love. It's better to aim for the game of it in the process and loving to do it rather than the whole business part of it and the whole money type of things. That's always going to come, but it's
Definitely.
better. You're going to get farther if you enjoy the process of it and if you're really passionate about it and you're happy to do it. Which leads in, I guess, to the next thing that I was going to ask you, which was, were there any critical points that you ever went through in your path that were tough decisions for you that you had to make, any sacrifices, things like that?
Sacrifices for sure. I think once people started reaching out to me about commissions or about custom orders, I make keychains, pop sockets. So when people would reach out to me like, hey, I want a keychain, hey, I want a pop socket. And then sometimes I'm out and about and I'm not home all the time. So I'm not able to show them like the options that they have available for them to purchase. And I think sometimes that would stress me out like, oh, these people are waiting on me, they're counting on me. And I didn't want to feel like um, I was kind of like forgetting about them or I felt behind. So I did have to sacrifice some time. And of course, I couldn't take away from school time. I'd have finals, but then I had orders to do. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of finding that balance and figuring out, okay, what's priority. And then just communicating with people like, hey, I'm so sorry, like I'm super caught up with school. And there are so many people out there that super appreciate that you just reach out to them and they're super understanding about it. So, sacrifices for sure, but it's nothing that anybody's going to be getting upset about or anything like
Yeah.
that.
And school is tough, it does get in the way. I personally dealt with that too, where,
Yes.
you have things you need to do and then school and you have to manage both. It is tough. Um, Talking about like with I guess customer service, if you want to call it like that. What are some of the mistakes you've made that you learned from like along the way?
um, Being really excited for people to be requesting things from me or ordering something from me.
Mhm.
And that right away I'm just like, yes, of course, I'll have that to you. And then I realize that I have school or I have different other priorities or responsibilities. And then realizing, like, okay, I actually need a little bit more time to do this. And then I start feeling kind of guilty, like, oh, but I already told them. So it's just realizing that you need to prioritize and make time for the things that are most important, and then realize that people are going to understand that you're human and you have things to do and you have a life. So they'll be understanding about it. But I'm always just so eager to get an order, have people reach out to me like, I want
Yeah.
to buy your art. And I'm always just so excited that I'm like, yes, I'll have it tomorrow. But it's not always like the case.
What dream projects do you have in mind, or things that you've always wanted to work on?
Um, I think just bigger canvases. So I want to create bigger art. I started off pretty small, and then I mean mainly because I didn't really have the space for it back when I was starting in at school. But even then, I think just expanding and trying new things, different canvases, different tools, different paints, different molds for resin. I mean, like I said, the possibilities are endless, but
Yeah.
something just bigger than what I've already, done before. So,
Mhm. And is there a special meaning to you when you create this, or why you got into the art?
um, honestly, it just really piqued my interest and it jumped out to me. And I think my curiosity was just the biggest thing for me. I was super curious. I had always been real creative since I was young, and I was like, this is something that I want to try, and this is something that I think I could get into and possibly be good at. So, um, I've been doing it for months now, and I
Mhm.
haven't had, you know, any means of stopping. So,
Right. And so the Upper Valley Art and Farmers Market, I know that was one of your first gigs that you did. How was that?
yes, it went really well, actually. I was so surprised because, I feel like the artists and creators and vendors that are at the artist and farmers market are just so legit. Like, they sell, such beautiful things, and they have a brand and they have their business, and, they're legit. And I felt like my, little business was kind of just through Instagram or through friends and family that were interested, and it was so small. But after experiencing the artist and farmers market, I realized that it doesn't matter how, well known you are. Doesn't matter how nice your logo or brand or business is. It's literally just about that you created something and you want to share it with the world, and people are there to appreciate it. And it's just such a good experience, and I loved being there. And I actually did sell a good amount of pop sockets, keychains. I made earrings. I had my art hanging from the sides of my tent. So people were stopping by and just telling me, how cool they thought they were, and this is so interesting, and what do you do? And it was just so exciting telling people about, what this is that you do and what you create, and just being proud of it. So it
Mhm.
was such a good experience, and I really, really hope I get to go back again. But again, work in school
Yeah, they just don't combine good together.
get in the way of that. But it was a really good experience. I had support, from my boyfriend and my mom helping me set up, get all the materials. It was such a hot day. Everyone was outside and sweating, and um, just still super great people walking around, just appreciating something that you made. And it was just so, so special.
Mm. And I feel like that's the best feeling, I guess, is when you see people buy your artwork. They don't know realize all the time you put into it and all the hard work and material buying, things like that. So it's just an awesome feeling of just like seeing people really interested in your artwork and buying it. Um, but was there
Right.
any, or is there anything that I guess you wish could be different, I guess, in the art industry, or anything that you kind of dislike that you maybe yourself you hope to see change or anything like that?
Um, I think there are a few people out there that don't realize how much time it really does take, how much you really do put into it. It's not just okay, thought, made it, sell it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's a lot more behind it. It's so much, planning and trial and error, and wasting products and money because you want to perfect something. You want it to be the best that you can create, and you want to give people the best of whatever you can. And so it's a lot of perfecting your craft, and even if that means wasting materials, wasting money, just trying new things, packaging, and buying little things to just make it look special or look more appealing. And there's a lot of little things that I think artists and creators do that sometimes it seems like only other artists and creators will appreciate.
Mhm.
But I hope to see more people understanding like how much time and thought and effort that really goes into it.
Yeah, and speaking about details and adding uniqueness into the art or piece that you make, do you have any sort of signature that you always put in one of your art pieces, or like a little logo, a meaning?
I just always make sure to write a note. Thank you so much for supporting me,
Mhm.
because I think that's super important to let the person know that it really does mean so much to me. And it's not really about the money for me. It's just the fact that you're interested in something that I created, and I just appreciate that so much. So I always just try to make sure that I put that note on there and I sign it Miners Art. And just little touches like that, I think, are special to whoever is buying your art as well. So that's something that I always do.
Right. And compared to everything you're doing right now and how things are going for you, what are things you wish you would have known before when you first got started?
Um, I think just not to be afraid. I think I got into this just totally curious, and I dove headfirst into it. And I think I was afraid. I was afraid of you know, making art wrong, and that's
Mhm.
impossible. I was afraid of wasting materials or making something that I thought I wouldn't be proud of. And it's like, even if that's the case, even if you don't appreciate, there's someone out there that will. And even if you don't, there's always something better right around the corner that you can create.
Mhm.
So if I had to tell myself something, it would just be, don't be afraid. Just go for it. Who cares if you waste paint? Who cares if don't like the way it came out? Because there's so much more, going forward. There's so much more to look forward to than this piece that you think came out wrong.
Yeah. And I like how you mentioned, that like being afraid of making art wrong, because, no piece of art is wrong.
Yeah,
Everything
it's
is
impossible.
very unique. Like we mentioned, everything's very special or created in a specific way for somebody. I've gone to like art galleries and I've seen like literally a little strip of paint on a canvas, and that's like the most famous painting ever. you know
Exactly.
it's just like I've always thought about. I'm like, no, nothing is ever wrong in art. It's all very unique, specifically to the person that made it, or a story behind it too.
For
um
sure.
but also, speaking about a story, is there ever anything that you ever created that you had a special story or meaning behind it?
Yeah, a few. I've made paintings for family members. I just recently sent out a painting to my cousin who just gave birth to a baby girl a few weeks ago. And so I made a painting for her nursery. So that one was really special to me, just feeling like I'm being a part of it, because it's
Mm,
really sad that we didn't get to see her during her pregnancy because of COVID. We're not really going to get to see her anytime soon. So just the fact that I got to send a piece of me over there to hang in the nursery walls was really, really special to me. So there's been a few, but art is so much deeper than paint or than resin or than lines and whatever. It's so
yeah,
much more.
there's just so much to art, and I also tell people this. I'm like, without art, the world would be plain. It would be boring. And so,
It's
like,
true.
anything that really is created is just, it makes it a little bit more better and beautiful in the world,
For
'cause
sure.
it's
Yes.
somebody's idea that comes out from their mind. But
Yes. So special.
yeah, is there any before we let you go, is there any advice that you would want to give to people who are following the same pathway as you?
Um, I would say, like, how I would tell myself from the past is, don't be afraid. Dive into something that you think you're interested in, and don't be afraid of failure like me. It really just wastes time, and it also wastes opportunities for you. You know what I mean? You're never gonna walk through a door of opportunity if you never open the door. So it's just, don't be afraid to try your hand at something. Just have fun doing it. Don't make it something that you think is like a job or you don't enjoy doing it. If you don't enjoy doing it, then that's not the point. There's no point. So do something that you enjoy. Don't be afraid and don't give up if there's something that you think you don't like. Keep trying.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome advice. I always tell people, I'm like, just do it. Just even if it goes bad, at least you tried it out. Um,
Yeah, what are you gonna lose?
exactly. And one of these famous, I think, quotes that I heard or sayings that I've heard was, you never know if you're gonna like something unless you try it. It's like never trying pizza. It's like, well, obviously you're saying
Exactly.
you don't like pizza, but you never tried it. So
For
once you give it
sure.
a try, you might like it. So it's all about just experimenting, I guess, especially in the art industry.
For sure. And honestly, especially in the city of El Paso, there's just so much support from the people here. Like, even if you do try your hand at something and you think, no, this isn't really for me, there's still going to be people that are like, I appreciate, you trying, or
Hmm.
I appreciate your work. And there's just such a good community here that's so good about applauding people for something, so simple. It's just appreciating someone's work, no matter how small or big it is. Just showing love for people and showing that support and showing that, hey, you did this, like, be proud of yourself. So
Hmm.
it's such a good feeling.
Yeah, and I see that more as like the benefit of what we built too is just giving people the opportunity to be exposed and be supported. And you know
Definitely.
there's a lot of little small artists out here, and I've seen it happen where they're really talented, but because they don't have the support system, they end up giving up and they don't become who they could have became. I don't know if you know
Right.
one of these famous stories. It was called The Lost Generation. It was
Oh,
back then,
yes.
the World War I, where before Picasso became Picasso and Skits Fitzgerald became Fitzgerald, and how they all
Mhm.
started writing things about what was going on in World War I and things like that, and creating paintings and stories. And so
Right.
it's just like without them supporting one another, they would have fell out and they wouldn't have become who they became. And so I think that's
Exactly.
very unique or very special to give people a support system in order to give them more opportunities to express themselves.
For sure. I totally agree. Just the community here, it's not like you're gonna say, "Oh, this person is also doing resin art," like we're in competition. No, it's nothing like that here. It's
Hmm.
all like support and love and like, "Wow, you are amazing. Like you're doing a great job. Like keep it up," And that's something that I really love and appreciate about this city and what I felt when I was at that farmers market. So, very blessed to have the support that I've gotten so far. And I'm such a small, I wouldn't even call myself business, but I've just appreciated all the people who have given me love, support, even if it's just likes and comments and shouting me out on Instagram, whatever. It's just all love. And I really, really appreciate it.
No, yeah, and that's what builds people up to do what they want to do. Well, Lindsay, I appreciate you. I don't want to take any more of your time, but I appreciate you coming on to the show, sharing your story. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with us or show us?
I think that's it. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Follow me
Awesome.
on Instagram to see
Yeah,
more
and
of
that's what I
my
was going to tell you. I
work.
was like, before we let you go, let people know where they can find you, where they can buy some of your artwork.
Yeah, for sure. Mostly it's all posted on Instagram at my.ers.art.